Hello and welcome. I'm Veronica Rogers, and we're here this evening at Equality Florida Suncoast Celebration, where tonight we're going to learn about the mission and the magic of this wonderful organization. So stay tuned. It's going to be a wonderful evening. Here with Marlene Hauk. So good to see you this evening, Marlene.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. I mean, we're here anyway tonight to celebrate Equality Florida. I've been involved for over 4 years, and it's a great organization.
And what does tonight mean to you?
This is about raising funds for advocacy. It's about not just civil rights, it's about fairness and equality for all.
And what do you want people to take away from tonight? One thing, you've been on the steering committee for over 4 years. What do you want people to see?
I want people to know that we're fighting for them. We're fighting for fairness and equality.
And
I get emotional about this.
No, absolutely. And it's creating the awareness here in our community.
Educating the community, the importance that there should be equality for all individuals, no matter who they are.
And that they're treated fairly.
And they're treated fairly, and that they are entitled to live life like everybody else. We're all human beings here.
And is that the one thing you want people to take away from this evening?
Yeah, that we are all human beings. We're essentially all one. We are.
Well, thank you, Marlene. We appreciate all you do
welcome.
here at Equality Florida.
Thanks. Thank you.
We're here with Dr. Maggie Verhagen. Tell me, why are you here this evening?
I am here this evening because I'm on the steering committee of Equality Florida here in Sarasota. And I've been on the committee for, 5 years, something like that. And it's a wonderful organization. We do lots of fundraisers to further what people should know about, the general populace should know about equality within the country, and particularly here in Florida. We're very pleased that equality is passed in marriage, but there are lots of more issues that we work on. And right now, one of the major issues that there are is the possibility of being fired just because you happen to be a lesbian or a gay man. And that's pretty horrible for folks who are working and have beautiful relationships at home. So it's frightful. So we're working on that to educate people and educate educators in the school systems. So there's a lot of work for us to do.
And tell me a little bit about the mission of Equality Florida.
Our mission is basically to further the idea of equality for LGBTQ people within the state of Florida.
And what do you want to see moving forward?
We want to see the idea that people can have a job and not be frightful that they'll lose it on Monday when they got married on Saturday. We want to see a school system that nurtures kids, whether they're gay or straight. And that's really very important to us right now.
Well, thank you so much for spending time, and looks like it's going to be a beautiful evening.
It's wonderful.
Oh, the decorations are great.
It's gorgeous. They did a great job putting this together.
Tell me a little bit about how you see change occurring.
Well, when I go back to the time that I was a kid in high school and knowing that I was a lesbian, to think about even telling anyone what your thoughts were was a scary thing, and you didn't even know yourself what this scary thing was that you were feeling. And so in time, as people evolve and are able to come out to other people, I think it's just a process where people understand that we're not threatening to anybody. This is how we are. We were born this way, if you will. And so I think with each person that winds up loving us for who we are, the idea of being a lesbian is not frightful. So, and we're all over. We're teachers, we're lawyers, we're doctors like I am. We're everybody.
Is it going to take something in the legislature to move this forward?
Probably. But on a grassroots level, it really has to do with people understanding that we're no different than anybody else. We're just the same. We just love who we love. And that's what it's all about, who we love. And when legislators understand that, hopefully it'll make a change in this world and in this state and in this country. And I think little by little people will understand that we are no different than the guy that we're sitting next to or the gal we're sitting next to.
And they've made some significant improvements, but not enough yet.
Not enough. We have a lot of work to do. And we're ready for it. We've rolled up our sleeves here at Equality Florida. We're ready for the challenge.
Well, good. We're so glad to be here with you this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. What a great evening this evening, Michael.
Yes, we're so excited to be here supporting Equality Florida.
And tell me a little bit about why you're here this evening.
Without Equality, we got married 2.5 years ago. Without Equality Florida, we would not have been able to do that. So we're here to support Equality Florida and the awesome work they do on behalf of the LGBT community here in Florida.
Well, congratulations first. And tell me a little bit about the mission of Equality Florida.
So we're working to make sure that no one in Florida suffers discrimination on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity. So that's, folks being able to be fired from their jobs. We want to make sure that we pass laws to stop that from happening, or kicked out of a home, bullied in school, really everything from, your time as a youth to your time as a senior citizen, making sure that you don't suffer discrimination just because you are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender.
How do you feel?
Actually, Michael's been working with the organization for nearly 10 years, and I was supporting the organization before I met Michael. So I've been a big supporter and advocate for Equality Florida for almost 12 years now, I guess. So yeah, it's an agency that I have not only devoted my time personally, but also my dollars. So I really believe in the organization.
And what do you want people to take away from this evening?
I think that people have to understand the power and influence of Equality Florida. Equality Florida has been a leader in the South for the LGBTQ community. So I think it's important to continue the support of this organization, because where Florida goes in this area is where the South is going to go. So supporting Equality Florida is really critical for moving our country forward.
And Michael, what do you think next steps are for Equality Florida?
For us, I think it's, in a conservative state where there's a majority of Republicans, that we need more Republican support to help pass some of these initiatives, and we need people who might not have been engaged to get engaged, particularly people that are on the conservative side of the aisle. We welcome them. We want them to be a part of this work and a part of expanding rights and equality for everyone.
Well, thank you for being here this evening. We hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you.
With Rick Kirby. So great to see you this evening.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
And tell me why you're here, Rick.
Well, I love equality. I love, we have marriage equality now, but that the work isn't done yet, and people forget that there is no laws for us for employment. So the fight continues, and I'm here to support it.
And that seems to be a big theme this evening, is about employment and those considerations.
It's true. I mean, we're not asking for special favors. We're only asking that we get the same rights as everybody else,
And tell me a little bit about their mission.
Well, I know that equality has started nationally, and it really is about making sure that we have the same rights as every other civil person in the country,
And tell me a little bit about the Manatee Players and what you have coming up.
Well, I am the producing artistic director for the Manatee Performing Arts Center, and we have a lot going on. We're opening 2 holiday shows on the very same day. We have Elf, the musical, in our large space, and we have the Christmas Carol in our second stage. So,
A lot going on.
there is, and that's not including all the concerts, all the dance concerts. There's always something going on, so check the website.
Well, we're glad to have you here this evening and hope you enjoy your evening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rick. We're here with Dr. Robin Bell. So good to see you this evening. Tell me what tonight means to you.
Well, this is my third Equality Florida event, and it's been very exciting since the passage of marriage equality, what this organization really was about, that has passed, and this organization has stayed strong to find other avenues to support the LGBT community, such as the equality for transgender and youth, and all of the things that are beyond, gay marriage, which was so important. We got that accomplished, and this organization continues to flourish. It's wonderful.
And what do you think about the mission? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we have to have a voice in politics and in the people that govern and make our laws and policies, and to have an organization like this that is supporting all of those things that this community needs. We'd be lost without them. Very important.
And tell me a little bit about the school. And you said you're in the music department.
That's right. I run the music program at the State College of Florida, where we have a wide diversity of students, not only at the college but in the music program. The State College of Florida also has an LGBT club called Alliance, and they're very active. And I know there's several students here tonight at the gala. And it's a great college and great organization, and it's nice to see them all symbiotically come together.
That's great to have that at the college.
Yes, it's very exciting. And students coming in to me all the time, we're going to see you at the gala. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll see you there. So, yeah, it's nice.
And tell me, what do you want people to take away from this evening?
Well, it's breakfast at Tiffany, so I hope everybody goes home with some jewelry.
Oh, Tiffany jewelry, that would be great. Thank you, Dr. Bell. We appreciate it and hope you have a great evening.
Thanks for being here.
We're here with Mark Puskarich, and you are the development director here for Equality Florida.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about the mission.
So Equality Florida is the largest civil rights organization working to secure full equality for Florida's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community.
And tonight, you have been here, you told me, since like 10 o'clock this morning, getting everything set up for this beautiful evening. What do you want people to take away from tonight?
Well, besides having a wonderful time with us and partying with us this evening, I want them to remember that there's still a lot of work to do as far as LGBTQ equality is concerned in the state of Florida. There's still a lot of important legislation that needs to be passed. We still need to make sure we take care of our young people that are in the schools throughout the state of Florida. And a lot of our programming addresses all of those issues. So in addition to celebrating and having a great time, I want them to remember also why Equality Florida is still very important today.
And is there one main subject that sticks out that you really want to move forward this coming year?
Well, our top legislative priority is the Florida Competitive Workforce Act, which is a piece of legislation that would protect LGBT people in the workplace, housing, and public accommodations. Because currently, in 40% of the state of Florida, folks can still be fired for being gay, or denied a hotel room, or denied an apartment or a housing lease solely on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity. So that's our top priority as we move into 2019.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for being here this evening, and have a great evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Mark. We're here with Jared Wilson this evening. What does tonight mean to you, Jared?
The local Suncoast celebration is always a great opportunity for the community to get together and celebrate the work that Equality Florida does throughout the year. It's certainly nice to see friends, old and new, but also to get a chance to hear about what Equality Florida has been up to.
And what have they been up to this year?
So Equality Florida is the state's largest LGBT rights organization. Their work they do is incredible, and there's so much of it. I certainly would miss a lot of it if I tried to talk about all of it. But for me, the most important thing they've done this year is the legislative work at the Capitol, and really pushing for the Competitive Workforce Act in Tallahassee.
And how do you raise money for that?
So we raise money locally through events like this. We've got an incredible group of supporters throughout the Suncoast, Sarasota, Manatee, Charlotte counties. So we mostly work on independent donations. We've also got a lot of corporate sponsors, and we do events like this throughout the year.
And that's what I was going to ask you. How can our community help?
So you can help by doing a few different things. You can certainly sign up for alerts from Equality Florida. Equality Florida will let you know when there's an opportunity to be an advocate for LGBT rights, to speak to your local and state elected officials about this important work. You can certainly give money. That's always important. And one of the things I appreciate about Equality Florida is that they make every dollar stretch. Their staff is really lean, and they operate in a really efficient way. And then you can, in general, just be a good advocate for the LGBT community.
And on the steering committee, so for 2019, what do you see moving forward?
That's a good question. For 2019, I think the work that Equality Florida is doing on the Competitive Workforce Act is going to continue. And I also think that the political environment's going to change in 2019, so Equality Florida is going to be responsive to that and change so that they can meet those demands.
Well, Jared, a lot of luck in 2019. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. This evening with Arthur Boyce. So great to see you. A nice jacket you're sporting tonight.
Thank you.
Tell me why you're here this evening.
Oh, well, I'm here to support equality. It's so important. I mean, it's an unbelievable event. We raise a lot of money for a very, very worthy cause.
And tell me a little bit about the mission.
The mission is to make sure that everybody, LGBT and beyond, we're not just supporting LGBT, we're supporting all people's equality, that everybody has a right to a dignified life, and what they believe or what they feel or how they want to look is acceptable, and they have value and worth no matter what they choose to express themselves as.
And what do you see moving forward?
Well, moving forward, it's a big battle because just alone in the state of Florida, for example, Sarasota City has a certain level of LGBT rights. Sarasota County has totally different rights, and Manatee County has no rights whatsoever. And unfortunately, people thought when we got the Supreme Court right to marry that everything disappeared. But on the local level, there are a tremendous amount of people who are not covered. You could literally get married in Manatee County tomorrow and lose your job on Monday, lose your apartment on Monday, and you could actually be refused service in a restaurant if the people in the restaurant chose to do that. So we really need to get rights for everybody so that people aren't judged and people aren't discriminated on any level whatsoever.
And how long have you been on the steering committee?
I've been on this steering committee for 4 years. This is the 4th event.
Well, we hope you have a great evening. Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you, and thank you for covering us.
Absolutely. We're here with Jay Poindexter. So nice to see you this evening.
You as well. Yes, it's good to be here
Why are you here tonight?
to support Equality Florida. This is one of their big fundraising events, and it's good that the community comes together to support this very important organization. You know, it's times like this where we have to come together to show our strength, to show our unity, and to continue, not get lazy. We've made some amazing strides in this community, and we take nothing for granted, and it could change within the blink of an eye. So,
And you're a big part of our community as in the Oslo Theater, correct?
yes, Oslo Rep is a big supporter also of Equality Florida. So we're happy to be here, to be supportive, and to know that this organization is here for us.
And what do you want people to take away from this evening?
What do I want them to take away from this evening? I think the unity. There are a lot of people who know one another in this community, so it's going to be, like reconnecting, reestablishing old friendships, but definitely the coming together is what's really important.
I like that, the unity of this evening. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We're here with Valerie and Melissa this evening. What does it mean for you to be here tonight?
Well, it's always great to come together with friends and family, extended family, for the Equality Florida Suncoast celebration. It gives us the opportunity to meet with like-minded people and support a great organization.
And Melissa, why are you here this evening?
To celebrate the moving forward and keep the equality of everyone going.
And Valerie, tell me a little bit about the mission of Equality Florida. So tonight we're going to talk about a lot of unity, people coming together, right? And supporting what we're doing legislatively moving forward.
So Equality Florida has been really vigilant in terms of safeguarding LGBT rights in the state of Florida. And it's really important to maintain support for this organization because they are the ones that support us.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. We're going to let you get past the door so you can at least go visit. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're here with Ashley Bundage tonight. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fantastic.
So tell me, why are you here?
I'm here because this is the place to be in Sarasota tonight and to celebrate equality. It's a celebration.
And tell me a little bit about the mission and how you've been involved with Equality Florida.
Well, I actually sit on the statewide advisory board for the Transaction Florida organization, which is underneath Equality Florida. And we do a boatload of things to spread the awareness around the transgender community. And considering this week is Trans Awareness Week, it's incredibly important for me to be here. And I travel always to come to the Equality Florida galas across the state, but this one is super important.
So do you cover the whole state?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And so tell me what you would like people to take away from this evening.
I think that we're all different, but we're all working towards a common goal of inclusive nature, and the fact that we're here on a Sunday having fun and celebrating is showing that we're here and we're in it and we're in it to win it.
So for 2019, really for the transgender community, what are some of the challenges of next year?
I mean, so for me, I don't think of it as challenges. I think about it as opportunities. And I think that we have an opportunity to really showcase our economic impact, because when we start talking about the dollar signs in our community is when we start to get people to listen to us. So equality through economics is the nature of 2019 for us. And we can only take this mission further by coming out and sharing our story and sharing what we do for a living.
Well, thank you, Ashley. We hope you have a wonderful evening.
Yes, thank you. You too.
Thank you. We're here with Ken Sheelan this evening, who has done so much for our community. Ken, tell me a little bit about the accomplishments.
Well, I've been working with Equality Florida for about 10 years, ever since I left the Sarasota City Commission. And one of the things that I started with was domestic partnership registries. And I was able to work my way down the southwest coast of Florida from Sarasota to Venice to Northport to Punta Gorda to Cape Coral and get those in place in those communities. And then I started working on non-discrimination ordinances, and I was able to get that done too in Sarasota and Venice and Northport. More recently, I've been working on a ban on conversion therapy in the city of Sarasota, and I hope that sometime within the next year or so that we can get that ban in place, because it's irrational to try and change somebody from who they are to something different than who they are.
So tell me a little bit about conversion therapy and what is behind that.
Well, conversion therapy is an attempt through some technique, and there is no such technique except that whatever these people think there would work for them, to change a gay person into a straight person. But since you're born that way, it ain't gonna happen. It doesn't work. And unfortunately, the consequence of that is that some people end up suicidal, some people end up with depression, some people become very different than who they really are and suffer for it. So we need to get that banned, particularly on young people, people below the age of 18.
And let them be who they are.
Absolutely. Everybody should be who they are.
And tell me a little bit about what is coming. What are some of the opportunities and challenges that face this community?
Well, politics, I think. You know, we've depended in the past on the courts to get a lot of the fixes to the discrimination issues that the LGBT community faces. But this past election has really been an eye-opener for me in this area, because the LGBT community has finally learned how to work within the political process, the election process. And in fact, this year in Sarasota County, this most recent midterm election, there were a lot of gay people who actually had fundraisers. They went out and worked for candidates by knocking on doors and making phone calls and talking to people, distributing literature, and it helped. It didn't do everything we wanted it to do, so the challenge for the future is to get smarter about that, to work harder at that, and to win those elections that make a difference for us.
And what is one thing you would tell our community to really embrace?
Well, embrace the fact that everybody is an interesting person and has something that will make your life a richer experience. And if you do that, if you're open to people, if you're open to differences and you're open to different ideas, life becomes a lot more fun, and it can be a lot better too. It can be much more innovative and more efficient, and actually it creates jobs. And that's what we want. We want this to be a successful community where everybody enjoys the fruits of our labors.
Well, Ken, thank you so much for all you do for our community, and what a beautiful evening this was tonight.
It's a fantastic evening. We had about 400 people here. We've raised a lot of money. It's making a lot of difference for Equality Florida. The organization has grown. This is one of the largest fundraisers in the state of Florida, and I'm so proud.
And I understand over 300,000, and when you started in 1997, it was minimal, right?
Like about 25,000. We thought we'd be lucky to raise 25,000, and here we are. 2 years in a row now, we've done over 300,000.
That's amazing. We want our community to embrace that.
Yes, absolutely. But we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going.
Thank you, Ken.
We'll be back next year.
Yep.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our annual Suncoast celebration. I'm Chris Cavelli, co-chair of this year's celebration.
And I'm Jordan. I'm Jordan Oliveira Heller, and that video really summed up exactly what Equality Florida is all about.
Agreed, Jordan. As a reminder, all of us here tonight, our mission is to secure full equality for all LGBTQ rights in the state of Florida. And without people like you, we would not be able to do this, so we're thankful for you all being here.
We are especially thankful for all of our sponsors here tonight. They've been so instrumental in making our work possible. Without them, we wouldn't have come so far in LGBTQ equality. All of our sponsors are featured on our signage up on the screen later and throughout the venue tonight. So if you meet any of them tonight, please thank them personally.
And a special thank you goes out to PNC Bank, who's been our presenting sponsor for 6 years now. So give them an applause, please. And at this time, I'd like to invite to the stage Dusty Becker, PNC's Bank Assistant Director of Client and Community Relations, to say a few words.
Good evening. On behalf of everyone here from PNC Bank, I would like to say thank you for being here, and thank you for Equality Florida for continuing to fight for the rights of the LGBTQ plus youth within Florida, for not youth, just for the community. I thought, looking back 2 years ago, that we really had made some great progress, and now, as we look towards January, we see the environment becoming more difficult and more challenging for us. And for the past 6 years, we've been the presenting sponsor for these events, but we sponsored Equality Florida long before that, and we will continue to sponsor Equality Florida and other like organizations who continue to fight and to continue to work for us to make sure that there's equality for all. So on behalf of the PNC Bank employees that are here in the room tonight, the over 950 employees that are within the region of Florida, to the over 65,000 employees for PNC worldwide, we say thank you to you and thank you to Equality Florida. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Dusty, and to PNC Bank for the long-standing commitment to our work. For the event this year, we chose themed breakfast at Tiffany's for a variety of reasons. Besides my love of bacon and eggs, scenes from the 1961 film are still as iconic as ever. While many parts of the movie do not stand the test of time, there is one overall theme that still resonates today with the LGBTQ experience. Holly Golightly leaves home, the only home she knows, to look for her chosen family. She goes on a search for the place that she can call home, a place where nothing bad could ever happen, a place like Tiffany's. I look around the room tonight and I see hundreds of faces who are spending tonight with their chosen family. Your continued support of Equality Florida is the continued support of protecting the rights of your chosen family.
And speaking of protecting the rights of your chosen family, Equality Florida relies on hundreds of volunteers throughout our state that selflessly dedicate their resources to making Florida better for all our families. That being said, we would really like to recognize our local Suncoast Celebration Steering Committee, our local group of volunteer leaders that have made this event and all events this year possible. Please stand up when I mention your name and wait for applause to the end. Phil Baker, Arthur Boyce, Kim Kressel, Elliot Gardner, Marlene Hawk, Stephen Krause, Katie McCurry, Pauline Parrish, Ken Sheelan, Jessica Simmons, Maggie Verhagen, Carlos Vicente, and Jared Wilson. At this time, I'd like to call to the stage a Suncoast Steering Committee member and also the newest state board member for a special presentation, Pauline Parrish.
Welcome, everyone. Are you having a good time? I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Are you having a good time? Well, we're so glad that you could be with us tonight for this special event. I have the honor of surprising someone this evening with a special thank you. This person is no stranger to Sarasota and has been involved with Equality Florida for many years. He laid the groundwork for our Suncoast chapter. About 10 years ago, Sarasota would raise about $15,000 for Equality Florida. Now, we've grown into one of Equality Florida's most generous communities, raising more than $300,000 in 2017. And we are on track to do the same this year. And I want to thank all of you, because without all of you being here tonight, we can't do this work. So give yourself a round of applause. So in addition to his service locally here for Equality Florida, he's also served on the statewide board and even served as the board chair for a few years. Next month, he'll hang up his hat and retire from the board, leaving Equality Florida stronger, more effective, and more influential. So on behalf of Equality Florida's board, staff, and supporters, we'd like to give him a big thank you for his tireless dedication to this important work in Florida. So Suncoast community, please give it up for Mr. Ken Sheelan. Come on, Ken. Don't be shy.
She said, make it short or they'll fire her. Well, I want to thank you, Pauline. I really appreciate it. And Jordan and Chris, you've done a fantastic job this year. I have been involved with Equality Florida for about 10 years. The organization provides an incredibly strong focus for the issues that affect the LGBT community in the state. It has done a lot of things, but as you can tell from the recent election, a lot more has to be done, and that involves you. It involves every one of you getting out there and being active in the community. So thank you, and a special thank you to Nadine Smith for her leadership at Equality Florida.
Many thanks to you, Ken. In addition to Ken, we have other outstanding individuals helping to advance LGBTQ equality right here in Sarasota. On Wednesday of last week at our sponsors reception, we honored Dorothy Neufeld with our Spirit of Service and Leadership Award for all of her volunteerism with Equality Florida, not only in Sarasota, but throughout the state. Thank you, Dorothy. Each year at this event, we recognize someone with our Voice for Equality Award. This award recognizes someone with courage, passion, and unwavering commitment that moves us forward to full equality.
This is a long one, so hold your breath. Here to present this year's Voice for Equality Award is Suzanne Brockman, the daughter of this year's recipients and best-selling romance author. Over the past 25 years, she has written more than 25 novels. Count that again, 25. Including her award-winning Troubleshooter series about Navy SEAL heroes and the women, and sometimes the men, who win their hearts. Suzanne is a proud member of PFLAG, the American Civil Liberties Union, the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Human Rights Campaign, Mass Equality, and Equality Florida. A firm believer in civil rights for all people, she fought hard to bring equal marriage rights to all citizens of her home state in Massachusetts and here in Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Suzanne Brockman.
Thank you so much. My mother insists that I tell you that I've written over 55 novels. I'm here to introduce two very special Equality Florida members. You know them as Fred and Lee Brockman, but to me, they're dad and mom. They volunteer for everything, as well as attending every Equality Florida event here in Sarasota. And I'm pretty sure that my mother has spoken to you extensively about me, her famous author daughter, and LGBTQ activist daughter, as well as my sister, her grandchildren, and her great-grandson, who is here tonight. Hi, Aiden. Mom will try to convince you that I was the driving force behind my parents' embrace of Equality Florida. But she is wrong. She and my dad taught me everything about both clearly seeing and loving my son Jason, who happens to be gay. So instead of giving you a long list of all that my parents do as volunteers for Equality Florida and the many other progressive groups they support, like the Brady Campaign, their UCC Church's Peace and Justice Network, Sarasota United for Responsibility and Equity, I want to tell you a story instead. Now, back in 1977, when I was 17 years old, the principal of my high school was clearly a closeted gay man. And when Mom overheard some of my friends mocking him, well, she put a stop to that fast. She not only let me know that she would not allow such talk in my house, in her house, she took it a step further. She sat down and she talked to me about who this man was. He was a neighbor and a friend of hers. I remember so clearly my mother telling me, yeah, I bet he's gay. So what? He's funny, he's brilliant, he's smart, he's kind. And the real tragedy here is that because some people are hateful and small-minded, he has to hide who he truly is. Imagine, she told me, how hard it must be for him. Imagine. And I sat there with her at age 17, imagining. And years later, when my son was born, I was prepped and ready to keep imagining. But this time, I imagined a world where my gay son could live his life in sunlight, where he would not have to hide. And I knew that his grandma and his grandpa were ready and willing to fight this fight with me for him and for everyone's LGBTQ children. Now, my parents gave me the gift of empathy, the gift of kindness, of consideration, of understanding, of truly respecting all people, the gift of unconditional love. As a writer, that's invaluable. As a human being, it's everything. But love and compassion go infinitely further when combined with an activist's lion-hearted courage and unflagging drive. My parents gave me that gift too, my activist gene. My amazing mother is a force of nature. And I know that my dad, who loves her fiercely, will be the first to agree. And he's always been right there, fighting for equality alongside of her with a smile on his face. I am honored to introduce to you the recipients of this year's Voice of Equality Award, Fred and Lee Brockman. My dad has mobility issues. Please approach him at their table to congratulate him. But here to accept this award is my wonderful, brilliant, kick-ass, unstoppable mom, Lee Brockman.
Okay, Suzanne, the check will be in the mail first thing in the morning. Thank you so much. I have a lot of people to thank, and I hope that when I say your name, you'll wave so that people will know who you are. I especially can't wait to see my church family waving. Wait. First, I have to thank Chris and Jordan and all the people that made this happen and that voted for Fred and me for this fabulous award. Got to look at my paper. I thank you, all of you, for being here to help raise the funds for the important work that Equality Florida does. Special thanks to our daughters, Carol Lee and Suzanne. Carol Lee and Suzanne, somewhere. And their husbands, Ed and Jay, got that reversed. Jay is Carol Lee's husband. And our granddaughter, Melanie, down there, that personal trainer person, with her son, Aiden. That's my great-grandson. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for being here. And now I have to thank the members of my church family. There are many of them here. Thank you all so much for being here. I think I need to explain to some of you who haven't met Fred and me yet why a couple of old, straight people come to all of the Equality Florida events. We've been doing it for about 9 years now. You've seen us. If you've been here that long, you've seen us here. Anyway, why are we here? It's because we really like you guys. And you really know how to throw a party. And most of all, though, really, you know, we are your allies. We're standing with you. We've always stood with you, and we always will. But I want to tell you that for Fred and me, this honor, Fred and I are really a duet. We're a team. And we have always done everything together. But for this award, we are not just a duet, we are a family chorus. Our whole family is involved in LGBTQ work, and I want to tell you a little bit about that. Suzanne and Ed and their son Jason and his husband Matt, who live out in California, do LGBTQ films, and their latest one, Analysis Paralysis, just opened in September in Palm Springs and was voted best, film festival favorite. How about that? Film festival favorite. This is an LGBT romantic comedy. They've been doing it for about 5 or 6 years, and some of you may have seen their first one, which was called The Perfect Wedding. It showed It showed at Ken and Steve's wedding, and it was an LGBTQ event and an Equality Florida event. But Fred and I have actually been adding our loud voices to the important issue of equality since way before most of you were born. I want to share a couple of stories about that. This is hard. I can't fold my paper. When we were snowbirds from Guilford, Connecticut, Fred and I were members of a Christian church down here for 15 years before we found out that you could only be a full member of the church if you were gay, if you were celibate. Celibate. You had to be celibate to be a member of this church if you were gay. We would have none of that. So we tried to fix the church first. Couldn't fix the church. They wouldn't have it. Even offered to start a PFLAG group there. Nope, didn't want that either. So you know what they said? It might divide the church. Thank you very much. We didn't like it. We couldn't fix it. We didn't condone it. So we left it. And then we found a real Christian church. One that accepts everybody. And it's not only open and affirming, but it offers everyone an extravagant welcome. And we used to even have doormats that said that on the doormat, extravagant welcome. Just got new ones. I don't like them as well, Pastor. Anyway, this church is the First Congregational United Church of Christ. And it's the church that's behind the Y on Bahia Vista. You probably know where it is. Love to have you stop in and see us. That's where Fred and I have had the privilege of heading up the Peace and Justice Network for about 9 years. And the mission of the Peace and Justice Network is to educate and inform the congregation about current issues, and especially about equality. Equality was one of our highest priorities, of course. So a few years ago, when an 18-year-old church member came out as the girl she always knew she was, her wonderful parents did all the right things. They spoke to our equality-educated minister, and they were referred to also youth and to a trans feminine counselor there, and they saved her life. But we in Peace and Justice saw a need, and we turned to Equality Florida for help in educating our whole congregation about transgender people and their rights. We invited Gina Duncan from Equality Florida, our transgender advocate, to come to our church, and she spoke to a standing room only crowd. The education she provided is still a topic of conversation years later, right, guys? Thank you, Equality Florida and Gina. But wait, there's more. Gina's presentation inspired a 90-year-old member of our church, 90-year-old member of our congregation, to come out as the woman she and her family knew she really was. She had confided in me earlier, so I had begun to quietly call her Billy every Sunday when we exchanged hugs. But she just didn't have the nerve to come out until Gina Duncan came and spoke to our church. And that was when Billy found the courage to, one Sunday morning, she walked into our church as a beautiful, smiling woman that she truly was. She was warmly embraced by our entire congregation. And before she died, just last summer, sorry to tell you, at age 93, she told me that the past 3 years were the happiest years of her life. Just imagine, though, the long and happy life she could have had if back when she was 18 or younger, there had been an Equality Florida or an Also Youth. This is the work that you guys paid for when you paid that expensive ticket price. This is what you're doing. You're doing good work. I hope each of you remember that all of you have many allies. And whether it's a duet or a chorus or a whole village, there are many of us standing with you, and we're using our loud voices for equality in the state of Florida. And we invite you to join our chorus. We don't want it to be just a family chorus of the Brockman family. We want you guys to be in this chorus. We want you to call your legislators, and we want you to write letters to Congress and to the President of the United States and tell them what you think. Use your voice of equality. And one day soon, if we all work together on this, guys, one day soon, maybe we'll really have real equality in our whole country. Wouldn't that be nice? I even have a theme song all figured out for our chorus. The theme song is going to be, "Let there be equality on earth, and let it begin with us." I just want to say thank you once more for this wonderful award. And Fred and I gratefully accept this on behalf of our family and our church. Hey guys, I've got a commercial break. Everyone give me your attention. Everybody knows Chef Chris Cavelli, right? You all know Chris. Do you know that he's opening a restaurant on First Street? I'm going to be arrested for this. But he's opening a restaurant on First Street very soon. It's going to be the best restaurant in Sarasota, and it's going to be called Sage, S-H-E-E, Sage.
Thank you, dear.
All right. And now I'd like to introduce Equality Florida's fierce leader, an activist who founded the organization back in 1997 and has been on the frontier of this work ever since. Please welcome our co-founder and CEO, Nadine Smith.
Hello, everybody. Y'all are looking good. Well, where to start? You know, on election night, I started looking at social media, and I was seeing a lot of people not feeling really great. They were watching Texas, they were watching Georgia, they were watching Florida, and they were getting kind of depressed about those marquee races that everybody had been watching on MSNBC and CNN and maybe not so much Fox. But it was interesting because I was watching the returns coming in all across the country, and I was feeling really good. And I was looking at folks, some of you in this room even, and what people were putting out on their social media was really kind of a bummer. So I started tallying that night all of the victories that we were having all across the country. And every time I thought I was finished, a new victory would show up. And then people started adding in the comment section, and I would update it again. And by morning, it was really clear to me that we had experienced all across our state and all across the country a true rainbow wave in America. It is a fact. Across this country, we saw more out LGBT people elected to office than in any previous election by a large margin, 155 by last count, including in some of those squeaker races. Not only was Tammy Baldwin reelected to the Senate, but this time she'll be joined by the first out bisexual, Christine Sinema, out of Arizona, who has her roots right here in Florida. She grew up in the panhandle of Florida, so I think we get to claim that one too. But beyond those marquee races that a lot of us put our hearts, a lot of sweat, a lot of foot leather into, focusing on that can obscure the bigger story of what happened on election night. And it's an important story because it's a story of hope and the change that we in this room and Equality Florida supporters across the state have brought. We saw some historic firsts. The next time we gather in Tallahassee and you come up and join us for Lobby Day, there will be 3 out LGBT legislators there to welcome you. Not only was Carlos Guillermo Smith, who's on staff at Equality Florida, reelected, but Chevron Jones, who came out this year, was reelected without opposition. And for the first time, an out lesbian, married, I don't know why I threw that in, but an out lesbian, Jennifer Webb, my neighbor in St. Petersburg, will be the first lesbian sworn in the Florida legislature. It's a huge breakthrough. It is a huge breakthrough. And so not only that, it's important to realize that on the other side of this election, we also emerge with other historic firsts. The first out lesbian mayor of a major city, the first out school board member, Sherry Fortney in Polk County, the first city in Florida with an all LGBT city council and mayor, Wilton Manors. But I think the biggest story beyond the rainbow wave across America and across Florida has been the number of pro-LGBT allies that have been elected. In the school boards, almost every candidate, I believe it was 24 out of 26 of the school board candidates we backed, won their election. That is huge. And when we go to Tallahassee, we will have the largest majority support for pro-LGBT non-discrimination we have ever seen in the Capitol since we formed in 1997. It's important that we savor those victories, and it's important that we understand how we got to them. You know, I was reminiscing with some folks who've known Equality Florida from its early days, back when we could have this event in someone's living room. And it made me remember that in those early days, we didn't even go to Tallahassee when we first formed. We didn't go to Tallahassee. We didn't hold elected leaders accountable. We didn't turn out hundreds of thousands of people to vote. We were just trying to connect our state. We were trying to get the people who lived in Tampa and the people who lived in Miami and the people who lived in Orange County and the people who lived in Sarasota to know each other, to connect, to try and figure out a strategy. And so now to be part of the transformation of our state, and we shouldn't be disappointed at how close we came to changing the governor's mansion. we should be inspired that somebody like Andrew Gillum could get as close as he did, because, you know, I'm going to keep it very real. There was a time when we had to twist the arms of even our Democratic friends to get them to acknowledge us and stand up for us and fight for us. Andrew Gillum, I remember when we won marriage equality, and there were some clerks who had said they would not actually perform marriages or issue marriage licenses to gay couples. And we needed a North Florida mayor or city council member, somebody who was willing to write an op-ed and put it in the newspaper and take a stand with us. And I remember calling up Andrew Gillum, and it was around New Year's. That was when all of this was unfolding during the Christmas holidays. And I said, can we ghostwrite an article from you taking a stand in support of marriage equality? First of all, I was shocked that he was willing to answer his phone, but then he said no. We couldn't ghostwrite an article for him because he was going to write it himself. And he did, and he ended it by saying anyone who was refused the right to marry, just come to his office and he would marry them personally. That somebody with that kind of character who has stood with us long before he was in the political spotlight, came as close, should give us hope, not break our hearts, but fill our hearts with pride because we are part of the engine that made it possible. The other thing that is critical to remember right now is that we've invested deeply in changing hearts and minds. It is why young people go to schools where there are GSAs, where there are out teachers, where they grow up in cities where the mayor embraces them and supports the LGBT community. Every transformation that we have made is part of creating the world that all of us deserve to grow up in, including the 90-year-old woman who had to wait so late in her life to come out. We are the adults that should have been there when we were children, and we're the adults that are here for the generation that comes behind us. And we should take a great deal of pride in that. Florida is critical to changing this nation. I just returned from a conference in D.C., and everybody is talking about the tipping point and how close we have come in Florida, in Texas, and in Georgia. And for the first time, they are acknowledging clearly that not only LGBT voters, but pro-equality voters, like the Brockman family, the people who stand with us, the people who love us, the people who support us, the people who will cross party lines to vote out people who would do us harm, that wave of voters is also changing our state and changing our country. And so when we change hearts and minds, we expect that that translates into changing votes as well. And one of the reasons that Equality Florida has invested deeply in pro-democracy, meaning redistricting that is fair and logical, not gerrymandered to protect incumbents or one party. It is the reason that we stood shoulder to shoulder with everyone pushing for Amendment 4, the Second Chances Amendment, that allows people to vote after they paid their debt to society, because we believe in democracy. We believe more people voting is a better democracy. And we are up against people who understand that their power comes from fewer and fewer people voting. So you're going to hear us talking a lot about that. And in fact, one of the other hats that I wear is I chair the Florida Advisory Committee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. And a month before the election, we took a vote, and voter suppression is going to be the focus of our year-long investigation. We understand that democracy is on our side. We understand that the people really are truly on our side. And I was describing to somebody how important it is to understand when we go after a policy, you got to think of it as a pyramid. The very top of that pyramid is the vote that happens, whether it's Jacksonville, whether in the future the conversion therapy ban that we've been talking about in Sarasota and local folks have been working on. Whenever it's the policy fight, the vote itself is the least of the work. It is everything underneath that. It is the city council members that you talk to, it's the business people you talk to, it's the faith leaders that you spoke to. And in this meeting that I went to in D.C., I met with conservative evangelicals who wanted to talk about how to do better on LGBT issues. And one of the gentlemen who spoke, he talked about Pulse. He talked about how it opened his heart and opened his mind, and he began to think more about the words that he has spoken and the harm that those words may be doing, especially to young people. Whether his words delivered a message of love or a message of condemnation. And I won't tell you that we left that meeting all hand in hand, but I do know it's never been more important for us to stand up and have the conversations that are difficult. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and some of us will be going to dinners with the uncle that voted, say, for a presidential candidate who, let's say, is terrible. And maybe there are people that you have sworn that you won't talk with, you'll ignore them. And I want to encourage you to break that promise you made. Not if it puts you in danger, but to walk into those uncomfortable spaces. Because I think one of the superpowers of the LGBT community is that we are part of every community. We are part of every class. We are part of every race. We are part of every religious denomination. That we can speak this truth in spaces that other people can't occupy. And that is a burden, but it's also an opportunity, and I think it is our duty. Because I have seen our state change as a consequence of those conversations. I have seen in Jacksonville the same city council member who voted to oppose us just a couple of years earlier break down in tears of pride that he got to vote for LGBT protections. I saw it in Gulfport when the same commissioner who cast the vote to block us begged his fellow colleagues to let him cast the vote that put us over the top the next year and said he wanted to be known as Commissioner Equality. And I have to call him Commissioner Equality because I can't remember his actual name. That's how effective that was. So I want to tell you this. We do not have the luxury of ever being anything but hopeful and optimistic. All we have to do is look behind us at how far we've come. Think about your school days. Think about the fact that there are 3 out LGBT folks in Tallahassee, and know that just a few years ago that was unimaginable. Understand that progress comes when we brush our fingers across what was impossible just a few minutes before. People said it was impossible for Florida to get marriage before the Supreme Court dictated, but our board of directors said, hell no, we're pushing all our chips into the middle of the table. We're going to fight for it here in Florida, and we got it before the Supreme Court dictated it for the rest of the country. And that we are able to do because you stand with us every time we take a chance, every time we make a bold move. Well, we're going to make more and more bold moves in the future. And we talk a lot about the work we do around youth, and we should, because it's incredible work. But I also want to tell you that Equality Florida has been going through a process of envisioning the next 5 years. And we intend to make a deep investment in seeing our movement truly become multicultural. We intend to make a deep investment in seeing that our seniors are taken care of, because marriage equality did not cure all of the challenges that our seniors face, and we're going to be in that fight in coalition with SAGE and other partners. But we are able to have that vision because you invest in Equality Florida. You've made it possible for us to have 30-plus staff all across this state working all in school boards, in city councils, in communities, at Pride, all across Florida. The rainbow wave has not peaked. It has not crashed upon the shore. The rainbow wave is rising. And I thank you all for being part of making it rise. Chris, will you join me back up on stage? Thank you all very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost done, but now you have to listen to me talk if you haven't had before. Tonight has been a great night like every other year in the past. We're going to tell you a brief story, and then we're going to ask you to raise your donations just a bit. When I was a young kid in Queens, New York, it was a very difficult yet fun upbringing, because as you get that feeling as a young gay man of what you're going to become, you start to become afraid of who you're going to talk to, who you're going to tell. And then eventually it rises up that you finally tell your family, you break off your engagement 4 months before the wedding, and then your brother decides to beat the living hell out of you. Taking that forward, I realized that that was going to be a very hard thing to deal with forward, because you always thought of your community as your family. 6 siblings, everybody loving you. You just wanted to be loved back. So I had to find a safe haven elsewhere. So I chose New Jersey because they have tomatoes and it's good to make a good red sauce that way. Long story short, to bring that in, I try to find another safe haven to where I could be myself, and I found Provincetown, Massachusetts, where you could see where I would feel safe. But then 2 very dear and good friends of mine, Richard White and David Mitchell, asked me to move to Sarasota, Florida. They're standing over there to your right. Raise your hands, gentlemen. And they got me involved in the community here in Sarasota, Manatee County. And then my husband decided, I asked him, I said, as I start to get more success under my belt, I would like to use that success and put it towards a specific group. So he came to me one day, 2 years after we moved here, and he said, Equality Florida is a group you want to put your energy to. This is a group that's going to move LGBTQ rights forward for the next 20 years. Lo and behold, think about the kid that got beat up by his own brother, still dealing with that till this day, but eventually I fought back like I'm fighting back today. The most important thing is I was a kid afraid and never expected to be loved. Now, you think about this. I never thought I'd be able to be married. I never thought I'd be able to have kids, grandkids, or anything else. Greg Young, I love you with all my heart. That's my husband. Raise your hand. So for the record, what Equality Florida does for people like me, I'm now married and I'm loved. I have stepchildren and I'm loved. I have grandchildren and I'm loved. And as of 4 months ago, I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm a great-grandfather. So the Gill Foundation has offered across the state from anywhere from 20 to 100 to whatever. I already got $1,000 before I walked up here tonight to match every donation that goes above your original donation or something new tonight. I ask you very simply, and I'm going to use this as a closing. Bill Nelson conceded earlier to Governor Scott. We all know how Governor Scott handled the Pulse nightmare. Do we need that moving forward? Please contribute and give to your community. I love you all, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for joining us for a wonderful evening at Equality Florida Suncoast Celebration. I'm Veronica Rogers with METV. We'll see you next time.